Hey, it's Ryan, and today I have for you a review of this little guy right here. This is an Adalov 7-inch, little budget-minded underwater camera, and if you haven't heard of them before, it's probably because they're a fairly obscure company. They just started popping up fairly recently. A lot of where you'll see them is on like Amazon ads or maybe eBay ads for underwater cameras. It's not going to fall in line with the mainstream cameras that you might be more familiar with, like this particular one right here, this Aqua View. This has been my trusted and reliable underwater camera for a couple seasons now. I've owned many Aqua Views over the years. I've probably been using cameras for close to 20 years at this point. But I've owned Aqua Views, I've had Marcums, I've had the Vexilar cameras, so I'm fairly used to this platform and what's offered on the market as far as more of these mainstream cameras go. Now, cameras like this Adalov right here, these are just more of a budget-minded camera, whereas when you go with more of the mainstream offerings like the Aqua View, you're going to be spending anywhere from about $300 to $350 depending on the time of year or where you're shopping. This little Adalov right here retails for 99 bucks on Amazon. I've seen them a little bit higher in some ads, but I've seen them as low as $83.99 in other ads. So you can get your hands on this little guy for pretty darn cheap. Now, 99 bucks, the last time I knew of an underwater camera that was of decent quality for 99 bucks was 15 years ago. It was called Fish TV. And it was kind of a neat little camera. It was an old tube style TV and it had kind of the fish shaped underwater camera on it. And for 99 bucks, it was a steal back then. That was a great camera. But those have been long gone and it seems like the price of everything has gone up since then. So initially when I saw this little Adalov camera advertised when I was in the market for a new camera earlier this winter, I was pretty skeptical of the price point. I just figured, well, you know, it might be some cheap Chinese stuff like we're all becoming used to with the new websites that are available now and the products that they peddle. So I was a little skeptical at first, kind of assumed I would still continue to go and buy, you know, probably just another Aqua View was what I planned on doing. Now, as we all know, Google reads our minds. I'm not kidding. Within a day or two of me searching for an underwater camera, a guy reached out to me on Facebook Messenger of all places, probably seen some of the fishing reports and maybe another review that I've done in the past. But he asked me if he could send me a camera and if I would do a review on it. And initially I kind of wondered whether it was a scam or not, but I thought, whatever, I'll give him my address, and if a camera shows up, all the better. If I like it, I'll do a review, and if I don't like it, well, just, you know, pretend like it never happened. So he sent me this little camera. It showed up, I don't know, probably 2 weeks later, this little guy came in the mail, and I opened it up and looked at it, and, you know, I had some initial thoughts and opinions on it, but it was better than what I thought it was going to be. So since I am here and I am doing this review on this little camera, it apparently has passed the test. So I'm going to go through some pros and cons of this camera, how it kind of stacked up to this offering from Aqua View. Not trying to compare, you know, I'm trying to give it as fair of a comparison as I can. This is actually an HD model right here, but I'm just going to try to compare the build quality and, you know, things that are applicable between the two. Now, one thing a caveat I'd like to start off with is when you are buying an underwater camera, if you're using them as a standalone unit, just using the screen there and the camera that's provided, you don't need to have an HD camera. It will buy you a little bit of detail, but it's really not that big of a deal to have an HD camera on a 7-inch screen. The time when you want an HD camera is when you're putting it on a big screen. So if you have a permanent fish house and you have a 40 or a 50-inch flat screen TV in there and you want to connect your underwater camera to that big screen TV, you're going to need an HD unit similar to this one or another HD offering that's out there with an HDMI port like this guy has. You don't want to do that with a non-HD camera. It's going to be disappointing. So keep that in mind when you're buying a new camera. So to get started with the review, what I'm going to do is just briefly cover the four main subjects and what stands out to me on this particular camera. First thing I'm going to go through obviously is picture quality. Next thing is going to be battery life. Then I'm going to kind of go through its features and ease of use. And finally, I'm just going to go over with you whether I believe it's a good value or not. First of all, the picture quality on this is surprisingly good. For a non-HD camera, I'd say it falls in line with anything else that's on the market. The picture quality is great. It seems to do just as well in dirty water. It seems to do really well in low light conditions, which was extremely surprising to me. This Aqua View right here, what it'll do is when the sun starts to set, things start to get dark, this camera will actually switch over to black and white to give you a better contrast. When I initially put this camera in the water, I put it in at the same time as I did the Aqua View. It's because I wanted to check battery life and compare them side by side. It was to my absolute shock when it started getting dark out when this little $99 offering switched to black and white. I didn't think it was going to do that. I figured it wouldn't pick up as well as the Aqua View did, but it picked up every bit as well as the Aqua View did, and its low light performance was exceptional. So definitely a thumbs up to that. As far as the color quality and the picture and the low light ability of this camera go, it does superb. It does really well. I haven't seen it beat by anything else out there, so I was very surprised. Definitely an A+ there. Now, as far as battery life goes, the Aqua View right here, that one gets me, I don't know, a little over 6 hours, maybe 7 hours, kind of depends. So that's got great battery life. It's got a 9 amp SLA battery, sealed lead acid battery. It's a 12 volt 9 amp, just like you have in your Vexilar. So you can pop this case open and put a new battery in if you want. This guy right here uses a proprietary battery, this little Adalov. And it's just this little green box, and actually everything that the camera does goes through here. All the cables plug into here. All the lights are controlled with this thing. Everything kind of goes through this little box. So I just had a hard time believing we were going to see much more than a couple hours worth of battery life out of it. And once again, to my shock, we get to the end of the day, and about the same time this one dies as we got after dark, the Adalov died within a few minutes. So the battery life on this thing is top notch. Now, you can't simply just go into the bait shop and buy a new battery off the shelf for this thing. Obviously, it's a proprietary piece of equipment. However, when you look in the user manual, the little Adalov user manual, they say in the manual that you can call them for a free battery. So I don't know how that works. I haven't called them for a free battery, but it says in the manual under the 1-year warranty, it says you can also call us for a free battery. So I don't know, maybe you can get an extra battery for free. The battery life is good enough on it. You might not need that. Next is the functionality and ease of use. This Aqua View is a well-refined piece of equipment. It's got the spool right on the bottom side. It's got a little holder for the camera itself. It flips up, and the sun shield also opens up, revealing the screen. The sun shield is actually the protection for the camera as well. It's got very easy to use buttons right here that control any of the settings that you want to control. You can fine tune it to pick up better in low light or slightly stained water. It's as good as it gets. I'm really impressed with the Aqua View. They've really refined their product line through years and years of use and testing. It's excellent. I have nothing but good things to say about it. The Adalov, well, this is kind of where you're getting what you pay for. This little box here, you have to plug the wires into the box, the screen wires, and then you have to plug, you know, they're just little AV cables or whatever you call them. And then you have to plug the camera into the box as well. It's not a big deal. It's just plugging in, you know, a couple of these cables when you go to use it. So that's very easy, very straightforward, no big deal. The camera itself is kind of goofy with the way it's rigged. So you can see the wires on top of it where my finger are. there's no real good spot to run the wires. It's meant to be functional for a variety of different uses. Like in the manual, they talk about putting it on your line and trolling with it in open water. But that's not the way I use it. I just use it for ice fishing, obviously. But you have to kind of finagle the wire through the top of the camera to get it to work properly. And that's a little bit goofy. Whereas the Aqua View, it's got the slots right here so you can adjust the angle of the camera to whatever angle you want. You can use it vertically, horizontally, or you can do different angles. This one, you've really got to mess around with the Adalov to get it just right. Once I kind of figured out where to put it just by putting the loop on top, it comes with a bunch of these clips that are meant to go on your line or on top of the camera for setting the cable. Once I got that figured out, I just left it. It hasn't been a problem since. I always leave it on a horizontal view. The other thing is the camera is pretty lightweight. So what I did was I just took a depth bomb, just a depth checker, one of these little guys, and I just clipped that right on the bottom of the camera. That added an extra ounce of weight. What it does is it helps the cord uncoil quicker. You'll notice that there's a little bit of twist in the line because it's a very, very thin cord. So putting that on helped it untwist quicker. It also just keeps the camera in place better. Now, what I will say is everything fits in the case very well. So I can tuck all the wires in. The wires come on this little spool, but I can tuck all the wires in, that's fine. It comes with this little bit of foam right here. You put that right over the top. That way it doesn't scratch your monitor when you're hauling it around, transporting it. But it goes right in this little case. Flip the latch shut, and you're good to go. Nifty little handle on top of it too. But that's the case. As you can see, it's been banged up a little bit. It's fallen into the bottom of my sleds. I run snowmobiles and portable fish houses. Things get beat up when you're going across the lake. That ice is very unforgiving. Ice fishing is hard on equipment. And this thing got banged around quite a bit in all the travels I did over the lake with snowmobiles and such. You can see wear marks all over it. But it didn't break. It held together nicely. There was no water intrusion on the camera. We got 6 to 8 weeks of heavy use out of this little camera. Riding around in the sled on the snowmobile, falling into the bottom of the sled where you definitely don't want electronics. Never had a problem with it. Every time I started it up, it ran just fine. I got excellent battery life out of it, excellent video quality out of it. It's been reasonably durable. I haven't had to call customer service for anything, so I can't speak to customer service on this product, but I will say that I am definitely impressed. It also comes with a sun shield. I just use this thing inside, so I don't ever use the sun shield, but charging cable, that's pretty straightforward. Just use the cable that it comes with. But I've been very impressed with this camera. My overview is if you're in the market for a professional piece of equipment, a high quality camera, something that you use every day, I think you're going to be better suited with going with one of the mainstream cameras like Aqua View or a Vexilar or a Marcum. They make a very, very good piece of equipment, and you definitely get what you pay for with those. However, if you're looking for something more budget-minded, if you're looking to just get a camera that you only plan on using a few times a year, or you're trying to keep the grandkid entertained, or you're just looking to save some money, this little guy right here, this little Adalov camera, that's how it's spelled, Adalov, whatever. It's done excellent. I'm absolutely impressed with this thing. Lightweight, portable. Everything fits in its own little self-contained carrying case. Excellent battery life, excellent video quality, very durable. I am very, very impressed for 99 bucks. So if you're on the fence, I'd pull the trigger on it. I think you'll be happy with it.